Hey, what's up, YouTube? We are going to be doing an official review of Wuthering Waves. I have seen a ton of videos. They're typically called something along the lines of an honest review of Wuthering Waves as a Genshin Impact player. I do find a lot of those reviews in having a lack of comprehensiveness, being a little bit intellectually dishonest, and dismissing things that are important while emphasizing things that are negatives. So, I am going to be doing my honest review of Wuthering Waves as a Genshin Impact hater. Subscribe. What I'd like to say is that my intention with this is ultimately to be as fair as I can be. But again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm not a Genshin Impact hater, because I am. I'm going to be comparing the two games. I am going to have my full opinion. I am biased, but I will try to give Genshin Impact its roses where its roses belong. Yes, I am biased. I will try to be fair when I feel like it. I'm actually going to front load a piece of information that I feel is typically barely included or not comprehensively included in a lot of these reviews. That being the gacha system in Wuthering Waves, because I think this is very important in comparing Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves, and also HSR and Wuthering Waves. Because people always just want to say, oh, it's all just gacha. But there are levels to gacha. Gacha is always predatory, okay? We can acknowledge this. The basis of gacha games is to monetize on gambling. We can agree that that is predatory inherently. However, there are always nuances and levels to that type of stuff. And here is where the nuance is. Genshin Impact banners have a 90 hard pity, soft pity in the 75-ish realm, 70-75. And they have a standard banner, which has all of their standard characters and all of the standard weapons, which you get essentially randomly based on the gacha system there. This game, for their standard banners, has a separate character banner, which has, it's as an 80 pity. Hard pity is 80. I don't know when the soft pity is. I've seen a lot of different numbers on that. I've seen 69. I've seen earlier. I don't know. I don't think usually that's actually really like confirmed, but there's an 80 pity on this game, and it is just the characters. It is just the characters and the 4 stars, obviously. So you're only going to be getting your standard banner characters from this, along with possibly some 4-star weapons. Then they also separately have a standard weapon banner in which you can choose the exact weapon that you want. That is busting, because really in Genshin Impact, there is almost no use in ever wishing on the standard banner, unless I guess you want one of the starter character constellations. I've seen people wish on the standard banner for like Kaya constellations, which is mega depressing. Or if you just have some standard wishes that they give you from the game that are only for that banner. But for this, if you need a crit rate sword, you want Emerald of Genesis, you can pick Emerald of Genesis. You will get it at 80 pulls or earlier if you get lucky, and you have that good gacha luck. The premium character, the featured characters, are essentially the same. However, these are also at 80 pity, okay, instead of 90. Again, don't really know where soft pity is. It's a little bit up in the air. The one thing that I think this does not do that Genshin and HSR also do is that on the limited banners in Genshin and HSR, you are guaranteed a 4-star with every 10 pull, whereas in this game, you are guaranteed a 4-star or above every 10 pulls. So you can get a 5-star and nothing else in a 10 pull, rather than a 5-star and a 4-star like you are in Hoyo character banners. That is the only difference. It still has a 50-50 system. These are more or less the same. This is not hugely different. But the one that really gets me, that almost all of these reviews always leaves out, is the weapon banner. This additionally has an 80 hard pity, but it's a guaranteed weapon. When you get the gold pull on this banner, there's no 50-50, there's no 75-25, none of that stuff. You will get the weapon that you wished for. And I think that is one of the things that is always left out of these videos. This is a very important thing, because even in HSR, there's a 75-25 and it's a 90, or is it 90 hard pity? I don't know what the hard pity is in HSR. Still 75-25, you can still not get the weapon. In Genshin, there's like that point system. I don't remember exactly how that works. How many wishes do you need to guarantee a weapon in Genshin Impact if you lost all of your like point systems? 270? So you need essentially to 100% guarantee that you get the weapon that you want in Genshin Impact. You need 270 pulls if you were very unlucky. This is also a game that is significantly more generous than Genshin Impact. And additionally, as well, when you start this game, there is a beginner banner where you have discounted 10 pulls. So 10 pulls cost the same as 8 pulls, essentially. You get a 5-star guaranteed within 50 10 pulls you don't get to pick. Then there is a secondary banner with like full pity, but you can guarantee the 5-star that you get from that banner as well. So I got Encore on mine, guaranteed Encore. And then there was also a 5-star selector that was given. And additionally, when you hit level 45 in this game, you get a 5-star weapon selector. And you get a ton of extra pulls and a ton of extra stuff as well for starting the game. That's the difference between the gacha system in Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves. People always gloss over this like, oh, it's just gacha. No, it's not. There are levels to that shit. And this is one of those things that like I don't think should be so glossed over. It's really weird to me. Next, we're going to talk about the beauty of character design. I think that mostly the character designs, if you like Genshin's or if you like Wuwa's, is a personal preference. However, I personally really enjoy the character designs in Wuthering Waves, primarily just because I feel like they don't think of me as a dumb child. The character designs are a lot more actually human. They're a lot less cartoony. I'm gonna be honest, like the main character's character design, I don't think that there is a main character that comes close to Female Rover. And honestly, Male Rover is also good, but Female Rover is just like OP goated. Female Rover is immaculate. I think that these character models, like the 3D models in Wuthering Waves, look a lot more adult. They read as adult to me. I was never really into like the Kumin and Gunin over a lot of Hoyoverse characters. Stylization of them was not my favorite. I'm just gonna be honest. Like the way that they're shaped, they're very cartoony to me. Like I'm gonna use Kafka in HSR as an example because I think she is one of the better versions. So we've got Kafka here, and we're gonna put this next to like the full Female Rover model. Kafka's obviously more of a cartoonish design. The model is a lot less specifically like human. It is more stylized, which perhaps you prefer the stylization of Genshin Impact more. I prefer the stylization of Wuthering Waves more. But I also just think that the adult characters are sexier. Like the adult characters are really hot. The adult male characters are like no competition. But if you look at the men in Genshin Impact next to the men in Wuthering Waves, you can see this really clearly, where this is just a very cartoonish stylization. They kind of look like stretched out teenagers, whereas like that's a man with manny muscles. That's a man, adult man. A little boy cosplaying, man. So if you prefer a more cartoonish design, you're probably gonna like Genshin's better. I think that this is a more mature stylization of character design. That's my personal prerogative, but I don't really like the stylization of Genshin Impact characters, especially after looking at these. I also, as like a kind of a nitpicky enjoying thing, I really like that the muscles are actually sculpted onto these characters for the men. Comparing that to Ito in Genshin, like if you're here for the like the waifu and husbando bait, I don't think they really compare when you look at them. I'm just gonna be real. Maybe it's a personal preference thing, but in terms of like adult man type shit, this is an adult man, not a teenager. And I like that a lot. That's my personal preference because it means that if I'm gonna be barking and stuff, I know what I'm barking for. I'm not gonna find out randomly that they're 14 years old or something. That's my preference. We're gonna move on and we're gonna talk about story really quickly. I'm not personally a story person, so let me preface it with that. I am not personally a story-driven gamer. I personally prefer combat and the gameplay loop and the fun of the game. To me, if I wanted to watch a story, I'd go on Netflix. If I wanted to play a game, I'm gonna play a game. However, as a content creator, I've been trying to get more into story, I suppose. But the Genshin Impact story is not that great. It's got a ton of dialogue bloat. I think HSR is getting worse on the dialogue bloat as well. Obviously, the Wuthering Waves story, especially the first 3 acts, is very rough. However, the second 3 acts are really good. Acts 4 through 6 are fabulous, fantastic, very, very good, okay? And so, like, I don't think it's necessarily fully fair to compare the story of Genshin Impact to the story of Wuthering Waves, simply because Wuthering Waves has been out for 1 patch, and Genshin Impact has been out for 4 years almost at this point. If I was to compare 1.1 to 1.1, I don't think Genshin's story was all that good either. I think it was very mid. I think part of it was just that the voice acting was somewhat better in Genshin than it was in Wuthering Waves, because the voice acting, I think, made the first 3 acts feel a lot worse than it needed to. Mondstadt was not exactly absolute cinema or anything. Do I think it's better than the first half of this 1.0 story? Yes. But overall, it was mid to like mid, essentially, if we average it all together. In terms of voice acting, obviously, the EN voice acting in this game is really rough. You'll notice that I currently have this game in Japanese for that reason. The quality of the recordings is not very good, which is part of why it sounds even worse than it needed to. The voice direction was obviously scuffed in EN very badly because they are switching accents and stuff and pronouncing things wrong. Wuthering Waves has said very clearly that they intend on fixing it. I'm okay if they fix it. I hope that they go back and redo some of that earlier voice acting so it's not so mega scuffed. But I don't personally think that most of Genshin Impact's voice acting is anything all that special. There are good parts. There are good characters. I don't think that, like, Genshin Impact is, like, the pinnacle of voice acting. In my opinion, the JPVA in Genshin Impact and HSR are better than in EN. JP voice actors are just goated like that, genuinely. But yeah, the voice acting is rough. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not in the story. Mostly the primary issues in the voice acting in this game are going to be from the EN story. Specifically, in my opinion, Yang and Shisha are the worst. And I actually don't think that's the voice actor's fault. I think it was whoever did the voice directing, whatever that studio was, did not do what they needed to do. And that is on them, on a lot of it. And they've said they're going to be making it better. I think in general, actually, most of the voice acting is pretty decent in EN. A lot of the 5-star characters sound great. Chongli sounds great. Jinxie sounds great. Scar sounds incredible. Jian sounds really, really good. Most of the 5-star premium characters sound great. A lot more of the problems are the 4-star characters in this game. And again, they've said they're going to be working on it, so I have high hopes for that. I don't think that there's any, like, oh my god, I'm going to bust on, like, Genshin Impact VAs. VAs are fine. The EN VAs are fine. The Japanese VAs are great. Same with this game. And it's, like, kind of, like, equal to me, in my opinion. If we take out Yang and Shisha specifically, because my goodness, they are very, very bad. But the JP dubs in this game are freaking goated. Yinlin is the voice actor of Ryuko in Kill la Kill. Nothing else needed to be said. The JP is great. So if you're a JP listener anyway, I think you're not going to have any problems with this game. The art direction of this game, I think, has been severely underrated, and I think it's also been severely ignored. I think that it is something that is continuously misrepresented or unfairly, harshly judged in almost every review I have seen, because the art direction in this game is fantastic. The world is beautiful. A lot of the art in this game, just like the still PNGs that they use for stuff, is gorgeous. Like, come on now. Like, that is very nice. Okay? But in general, like, the world design of this game is very, very nice. I've seen people saying, like, oh, the world design isn't good, while literally using CBT1 footage? Question mark, exclamation point. If you are thinking that the game looks kind of washed out and you don't like it that much, number one tip here is you're going to go into your graphic settings and you are going to go to your brightness and you are going to turn it down. Turn it, like, way down. It is too high when you start in this game because this is gamma. It's not brightness the way that you think it is. So if you turn this down, you're going to get a lot more color and saturation out of your game. Some people say to turn it all the way down. I personally did not like it turned down to 0. I put it down to, like, a quarter or a fifth. But turn it down and you are going to get so much color and contrast out of this game if it looks a bit washed out. That is why. And unfortunately, some people obviously cannot play this game at full graphic settings. Just simply, they're not going to be able to. And that sucks. But this is a gorgeous game. This is a gorgeous game. It is a beautiful game. There are so many just, like, incredibly pretty awe-inspiring environments to me. I don't personally feel that like there are a lot of environments that really come close to this area in Genshin Impact. There are very pretty areas in Genshin Impact, don't get me wrong, but like this is this area took my breath away the first time I came here. This is gorgeous. And I don't think that there's any denying that, and I'm specifically showing it because people always say, "Oh, the world is not very beautiful. It's kind of ugly, blah blah blah." And it's like, is it though? Is it though? There are so many incredibly beautiful areas in this game. Are there filler areas where it's not as exciting? Absolutely, of course. But this is a beautiful world design. There are so many gorgeous areas, so many distinctive areas. It is in no way the same drab shit over and over again. They do a lot of storytelling in their world design as well, which I think is really, really cool. This is in no way an ugly game. It is a gorgeous game. The Unreal Engine does a lot for making this game more eye-catching. It's very cinematic. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Genshin Impact has nice world design. It is a personal preference thing. If you prefer the more cartoony, like, art direction of that, that is definitely a personal preference thing, and I don't think I can take away from that if you personally prefer that. I personally prefer adult-looking games that are not pastel vomit, but, like, I think that this game is beautiful. I think the characters look really cool in the world as well, and I also think that with the characters, like, animations, the characters look a lot less drab. The world looks so cool when it's dark, right? And it's not just pastel vomit everywhere. Man, do the character animations pop. The character animations look so stunning and eye-catching when your world is not all color. If everything's colorful, then nothing kind of really matters anymore. It just kind of becomes like an eyesore. And I really like that there's a lot of contrast in this game rather than just color, 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 everywhere, all the time, constantly. I think that in Genshin Impact, I've said this before, it feels like kind of like a theme park where there's like a particular theme here and then you go to another place and then there's like a theme there, but it doesn't feel like a very cohesive world. And I think the thing that really shines about this game, even though there are different areas, obviously, this is all very cohesive. It all looks like it's part of the same like nation, the same place. And I really like that aspect of it as well. Because goddamn, like, I don't think you can look at this and not say that this is a gorgeous game. This is a gorgeous game. It is. If you prefer Genshin's art style, there's nothing I can do to stop you. Okay? If you like that very high color, no contrast art style, that is all you. But personally, for me, this is the stuff that I'm looking for in my games. Because, oh my god, this is pretty. And then, let's see. In terms of exploration, I think that for a lot of reasons, the exploration in this game is a lot more satisfying. There are a lot fewer pain points in exploration in Wuthering Waves. Because the stamina use is different in this game, once you start sprinting, you're no longer using stamina, as you can see, whereas in Genshin, your stamina runs down when you're sprinting, which is very annoying. There are a lot more ways to move around in this world. You have sort of a double jump with space and shift. You have a tether, which I honestly, personally think should have a lower cooldown than it does, but it's not the biggest deal ever. You can actually run up hills rather than climbing them. You can just climb them like Genshin. Oh man, it looks so much like Genshin. Then I hit shift. You can just run up and it's much faster. It's much easier. There's not that like slog of trying to get up a really high mountain in Liyue and stuff like that. And also because there's double jumps and there's also like a triple jump, quadruple jump tech, essentially. You don't actually have to worry that much about getting up to high places. There is sort of a version of like a Geoculus or Animoculus like there is in Genshin. And there was one where in Genshin, I just remember so specifically that if you didn't have Kazuha at the time, or you didn't have Venti, there was no way you would have reached that Geoculus. And what you would have had to do in Genshin Impact was go run over to a cliff nearby and then float down to catch it, which would have taken like 15 minutes. And it would have not felt worth it at all. Because I was like, how do I reach it? It's so high up. And my chat was like, just do the double jump. Just do the triple jump and you'll be fine. And I was like, oh my god, you're so right. And I just did it. And it was so nice. And I had a bunch of people in chat be like, oh my God, I literally walked over to the other cliff to get that. I didn't even think that I would be able to jump that high. And I was like, that is your Genshin refugee PTSD trauma, bro. Yeah, you'd have to have stamina food if you didn't have high enough stamina. It was terrible. Like a ton of the pain points in exploration and Genshin are not in this game. Ultimately, the gameplay loop becomes pretty similar to Genshin after a while once you've explored everything. If you get exploration to 100%, which I'm going to be honest, is going to take you quite a long time. Okay, there we get an echo. See? I just grabbed that. I have something. That could be the relic that changes my account. Who knows? Probably not, but it could be. I did not actually like exploring in Genshin at all. I did it purely to get whatever rewards I wanted or needed, or to increase my stamina with the Oculuses. And that was about it. I did not really like exploration in this game. And I honestly did not expect to like exploration in this game, but I have a blast just running around and killing stuff in this game. In Genshin, I think the world is a lot more empty. It feels a lot less alive. It feels a lot less lived in. Like, this is obviously a place where people have lived in. It's obviously post-apocalyptic. This is a real area. This is a place. And I think oftentimes a lot of these like random sort of open areas in Genshin would not feel nearly as alive and as much of a place where like people might actually live. And I think that's really, really cool. Maybe you'll like Genshin better, but I have also heard a lot of people going back to Genshin as Genshin players after playing Wuwa and playing for like a couple minutes and being like, oh my God, getting around is so ass, I'm done. Because I think the problem will be if you play this game in the exploration and then you play Genshin Impact with the exploration, how it works in that game, it's not really going to feel that good. And also in terms of exploration, we actually have a ton of QOL front loaded into the game that Genshin took over a year to get that were much harder to get. You could just drop the loot mapper and it will show you where the treasure chests are exactly. And you can run to them. This is not a craftable. This is not a consumable. You have 3 of them. You can have 3 on the map at the same time. Then you kind of got to collect them and then you can place them again. And you can use these endlessly. Forever. It takes a very realistically small amount of exploration to get this QOL. And this took so incredibly long to get into Genshin Impact, and it is a very relatively expensive craftable, and you had to earn it with like that reputation system, and that shit was ass. Additionally, this QOL, maybe it's QOL that is not important to anyone, but this was such a thoughtful small QOL that like it absolutely like made me adore the like Kuro and their thoughtfulness. Because if you click this little compass right here, you can just go and check all of your exploration in all of the areas. The specific things that add to exploration is listed here, and how many, like what percentage you have of each. This is a gorgeous QOL. I love that this was just added to the game instantly. Nobody had asked for it. They just added this because it's an open world game, and this is obviously something you'd want. I actually assumed that it didn't exist and assumed that I would have to check my exploration manually every time by going to the Pioneer Association, which is like the exploration area, because I was just going here because that's exactly, how do you get to that? Literally, M, map, and you click this compass. That's it. But this really made me love the developers, because these are people that love an open world game and understand what open world games need to be as enjoyable as possible. This was so nice. If you fall in the game, you can switch in the air, in the water. Like if you're on your glider, you can also switch. So if you fall down here and you don't have any stamina, so you can't plunge attack, which happens a lot in Genshin, but if you're gonna take fall damage, you can just go right at the end there like that, and you're not gonna take any fall damage. You just have to do it like before you fall. And also the fall damage takes a lot more verticality to actually do damage to you. So like in terms of pain points, that's a really nice one that you kind of avoid in this game. This is a very long review, but the point is that I'm trying to be thorough. If you're still here on YouTube, say hello. Thank you for watching. I want to be as thorough as possible and show examples, because I feel like a lot of stuff is not well represented. Combat in Genshin Impact, I think if you are a mobile user, is going to be better. Just simply, the combat is easier in Genshin. It is more simple. You don't need all that much skill to do well on Genshin. It's going to be easier. That doesn't mean you can't do it. It is just going to be easier to play Genshin Impact on mobile than it is for Wuthering Waves, period. It is mostly just AoE flashing and damaging and exploding. It's not going to be that difficult. You don't really have to have much skill expression. This game requires more skill expression, which by nature makes it more difficult on mobile. That doesn't make it impossible. But again, I'm trying to give roses where I can and be fair as much as I can. And there's no controller support yet in Wuwa unless you use a third party, which I know a lot of people don't really want to do. but they are intending upon adding it. So that will definitely make it easier. Playing this game on controller is actually really nice. I just prefer mouse and keyboard because that's sort of my what I'm used to for the most part. Anybody who is saying that there is a similarity in the depth of combat between Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact is off their rocker. They're crazy people. I don't know how you could even say that. It's actually just dishonest, to be honest with you. It's kind of like a lie. Overall, the combat in this game, it is going to be a personal preference about whether or not you actually like to pay attention. Yeah, there is a certain amount of like, you could have an extremely juiced up character, but unfortunately, if you're doing a hard boss and you have an E6 or a, what is it, S6 character in this game, it's not going to matter. You're going to get slapped in this game because you can do a good amount of damage. Those bosses do more damage than you. And if you can't dodge, it's going to be difficult if you are doing higher level stuff. However, if you're like a story enjoyer and you don't care that much about endgame, I don't think you're going to have much of a hard time. I think this game is relatively easy unless you are doing holograms, elusive realm, the higher levels, and the Spiral Abyss equivalent. This game is not really that difficult. The end game is hard, but the combat is a lot more satisfying. I think the combat is a lot more smooth than Genshin. I think Genshin is pretty clunky most of the time. I don't like the combat in Genshin all that much, especially after playing this game. I'm not like excited about playing Genshin's combat. It's a lot more detailed. There's a lot more things you can do in combat. In this game, you have a light attack, a plunge attack. You have like mid-air attacks as well. There's a heavy attack, which hers is weird, so it's not a very good determination. You also have your echo skill, which is essentially one of your artifacts come to life that you can turn into to do big damage and get some bonuses. There's just a lot more. There's your forte, there's your concerto stuff. It's a lot. Intro, outro skill. There's a lot more to do in this game. If you like more difficult combat, if you like combat that is less flashy and a little bit more difficult, like a little bit more active, this is great. If you're a enjoyer of any kind of difficult gaming, you know, Dark Souls, anything like that, this is definitely going to be more of the game for you. If you like matching the pretty colors to get the big explosion, Genshin's gonna be better. It's an easier combat system, and that is okay if you prefer that, but it is easier. The end game is great. There are 3 different forms of end game, 2 of which are repeatable, 1 of which at this point is not. You have your Tower of Adversity. This is going to be your Spiral Abyss. This is harder than Spiral Abyss. I'm just going to be so 100% with you. I don't think it is the hardest shit in this game because that's very much the holograms. But this is essentially the like equivalent to Spiral Abyss. You've got the first 3 levels, which is going to be like the first 8 in Genshin Impact, I think, of Spiral Abyss, where these don't switch out ever. And then you're going to have the Hazard Zone, which is like the last couple levels of Spiral Abyss and Genshin. And these are the ones that switch out every couple days. This one's about to reset in 3 days. So this is sort of your repeatable end game content. This is very challenging. You need 3 teams of probably 3. You could probably swing it with 2. But yeah, you have to have 3 teams for this because there is a sort of like vigor energy system with this that makes this more challenging and makes it so that you can't use your characters enough times, essentially. There is also sort of it's essentially like simulated universe in HSR. And I actually think that this is my favorite end game right now. This end game is silly goofing. This is not serious. This is for goofing and gaffing. And basically what this is for the first 5 levels of this endgame, they give you trial characters. So you actually don't have to build anything. This is your trial character for this. Gion is super busted in this mode. Very, very easy. It's very fun. This one has Spectro Rover. This one's a built Spectro Rover, to be clear. It's not like completely crap. It's very much usable. This one gives you 2. So this is Gion or Baisha. And you might say, isn't Baisha like a healer? How are you going to do an endgame mode with just Baisha? But the thing is that what Elusive Realm does is it will completely replace the abilities and ultimates of these characters and make them played completely differently. Basically, what this realm does is make Baisha a machine gun. Oh my god, this is fucking crazy disorienting. Holy shit! Oh my god! It's only the 5th level where you actually need your own character. But the great thing about that is that the only thing that matters is your character level, your character skill level, and your weapon skill level, like your weapon level, essentially. And that's it. Your echoes don't matter, so it's not like these need to be kitted out with like really nice echoes. They don't need to be leveled echoes at all. You could literally run them with no echoes and it would make no difference. So I just leveled up my Baisha and used her, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. It was very stupid. I'm excited for when they reset it so that we can get even more stuff. You can get a skin in here. You can't see all the rewards because I've already bought them all, but this is so good. good. I love Elusive Realm. This is probably my favorite endgame as of now. So there's easy, which is Elusive Realm in terms of endgame. There's medium, which is sort of the Spiral Abyss, Tower of Adversity. That equivalent is the medium. And then there is the suicide difficulty. So we have these tactical holograms. These things are devised perhaps by Satan himself. These are extremely difficult, high skill cap, high damage, high perfection type battles. These are incredibly difficult. This is going to be the highest level of skill that you can get, but they are very, very fun. These don't actually have the highest rewards in the game either, which I think is very nice. They have some nice rewards. They have a special shop where you can use those like triangle chip things. It's not a make or break that you get all of the rewards from holograms. At this point, the holograms are not redoable, but my sort of assumption is that they're going to be adding more of them as new areas come up, that they're going to be adding perhaps more difficulty levels as the game progresses. I'm sure that they're going to do more with this. Right now, honestly, not a lot of people are going to be finishing all 6 difficulties of this. I feel like probably like a handful of people of whales in the whole world. But oh my God, these bosses are hard, especially this piece of shit. I hate this boss so badly. He's my enemy, and I wish the worst for whoever created him. But that's our end game in this game. Conversely, you've got Spiral Abyss. Spiral Abyss has had the exact same way it works for 4 years, so I don't really feel like I want to explain it. If you don't want a high amount of difficulty, if you don't want a lot of variety, if you want to use the same characters to do the same things against slightly different bosses, that's all you. Wuthering Waves is trying to make endgame something that is worth doing. And honestly, Elusive Realm specifically, I know I've already said how much I like Elusive Realm, but Elusive Realm specifically, I feel like is such repeatable endgame content because it's fun. Do I need to go back and do level 6 so that I can try out Yinlin? No, I have no reason to redo this. I have already gotten the rewards from this. But am I going to anyway to find out what Yinlin does when she's souped up by this mode? Absolutely, I am going to be doing that. It's fun. It's dumb. I want to know what she's going to turn into at the end of getting all of my buffs and stuff. And so I'm really excited to see where they go with this specifically because, God, I love this endgame mode. This is so sick. Events, I don't think are fair to compare between Genshin and Wuwa yet because we're in 1.0. If we need to be reminded about 1.0 in Genshin, their first event, the 1.0 Genshin Impact event was a complete disaster where you had to pay with resin to do the event. It was co-op with servers that barely worked and they were teleporting around all over the place. And the rewards weren't even that good. And so granted, yeah, the first event was not that good, but I have heard the second event that came out yesterday is really good. I just have not had a chance to do it. I don't think it is fair to compare events very strongly in a game that is a couple weeks old to a game that has 4 years of events to compare to. Co-op in this game is amazing. Not so much because it's more fluid or anything like that. It's just a lot more high value. The beauty about co-op in this game is that you guys can hunt echoes together. So what you're going to do in this game, if you're trying to min-max or if you just like hunting echoes, what you'll probably do is you'll pick an echo that you're trying to hunt. You'll press track and it'll track you all over the map to all the places where that echo is. There is a stopping period where you can no longer get any more of that echo. You can just go into somebody else's world and catch them. You can catch them together. If you drop an echo in somebody else's world, you both can get it, which is awesome. It's not only that. The real beauty of co-op and Wuthering Waves, and nobody has talked about this to the point that I didn't even know it was a thing. If I hit this rock, and we'll say, like, somebody's in my world, right? If I hit this rock and I collect this rock, which, by the way, I don't have to pick up because there's QOL in this game, which is great. Even if the other player is on the other side of the map, they will also get that rock in their inventory. And so the beauty of this game is if you want to speed run collecting resources, you can have 4 people in your co-op. You can all go for different resources all over the map and all of you share. Is it 3? Oh, my bad. 3. It's my bad. 3 total. I lied. If an echo drops, everybody can pick up that echo. If a rock drops, if something is collected, everybody gets that collected thing. That is the value of co-op in this game. There's no stealing resources. If you hit your echo cap in this world, you can go to somebody else's world and go get more echoes, and everybody can collect the same echo. That is the beauty of PvP in this game because there is nothing similar like that in Genshin. Y'all can get resources, but you can steal them from each other. You can't all get them. Basically, for the ecosystem, When you walk around, you're going to kill monsters. They're going to leave an echo sometimes of varying varieties depending on your data bank level. Mine is 18 until I get to level 40, and I'll go straight to level 20. So you can suck up the echoes with your gourd, and they will have certain stats. Different costs of echoes have different stats that they can get. You're going to level these up, and then what you have to do is you have to tune them. So you level this up 5 levels, you're going to get a +5 to tune, right? You're going to upgrade, and you're going to use tuners to tune them. Right now, it's a little wonky because you can farm echoes essentially infinitely. However, the problem is that the echo XP is a little bit less than it should be. This is being fixed in 1.1, so we're looking forward to that. And I don't want to get too far into it or too like yucky about it in this game because it is being worked on. I think I will probably do an update on the ecosystem after changes are made so that I feel like I can have a more fair review. The artifact system in Genshin is obviously tiresome. You do the same thing over and over and over again. And then you hope that you get the right stats when you level it. And then if you don't, you cry. And then you go on to the next day. I also do want to point out that some people think that the only way to do echo farming is via the open world. It's actually not. It's just kind of the more effective way. You can also do these taste it fields. This is more similar to the artifact system in Genshin. There's just the additional open world option. Count progression is a little bit wonky right now. I think they made some of the progression a little bit too easy, especially for those of you that be playing the game quite a lot. But honestly, I still have a shitload to do in this game, and I am playing this game like 10 hours a day. So I don't think that there is a lack of anything to do unless you are playing this game like it's like your job. I don't know. This is my job and I don't play the game like that. But yeah, I don't think that there's any lack of things to do. I think this is a great game. There's obviously always going to be personal preferences about how you want and like to play games, about how you like visuals to be. I don't think that a lot of the criticism of this game is fair. And I think that the optimization issues suck. And some of the mistakes that they've made do suck. But overall, this is a good game. It's actually a better game than I thought it was going to be. This is a fantastic game, especially if you're not having any optimization issues like me. This game is a dream. It has flaws, for sure. I've named several of them. The music is pretty mid. There's a lot of things that need to be improved. There's a lot of things that need to be tweaked, but ultimately, this game is fantastic. And if you are not giving it a shot because of all of this, Genshin that bullshit, you are missing out. If you liked Genshin, you will like this game if you give it an honest try. There is plenty to do if you don't like difficult or challenging content, and there is plenty to do if you do. There is something for everyone in this game, and I really encourage you to try it. Maybe you won't like it, and that is okay. Are there a lot of similarities to Genshin? Yeah, nobody's saying it's not. However, it's not the same. And the more you play the game, the more you'll realize it's not the same. So that is my honest review of Wuthering Waves. I've tried to be as fair as possible, and I'm also acknowledging my bias that I don't like Genshin Impact, and I don't really like Hoyoverse that much, and so a certain amount of it is like, I just don't really like those. I'm always going to be more biased toward literally anything else. I think overall, regardless of all that shit, this is a great game and you should try it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below on YouTube. I've done my very best to be as fair as possible and give actual criticism where it needs to be. However, the game is fixing a lot of the things I've been critical on, so there's kind of no point at this point. You know what I mean? Have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe. Come join us on Twitch sometime. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!